Well, welcome back everybody to Aligning with Success. And I hope you feel what I feel, that we've aligned with the right company.
Yes.
Wow, what a convention. Now, I know we've had chances to talk about this. Those of you who are on the Ladies Leading Ladies after hours, cocktail party, whatever we refer to that as, we had a chance to share. And I'm really glad we did that because I know the best experiences I've had at all the major events in NECAN has always been at the post-event festivities, whether it was meeting in the coffee shop, the piano bar, the restaurants, wherever till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Those are the times where I think most of the real connections happen. And I've come to know many of you and many of my NECAN family as family and friends for life as a result of those connections that we made in those after hours events. Because we not only shared an experience in common, but we had the chance to really reflect on it and to share with one another how that impacts us and the way we see the world. So I'm open to that happening on this call tonight for sure. Usually I have an agenda, and I do have one thing that I do want to get to with respect to the agenda. So I'm going to give you yet another opportunity to come forward on your convention experience. Before we do that, let me just share my screen for a moment and remind us of this very powerful infographic is what Luis referred to it. I hope you realize that I sent one out. That was the one that Ben had circulated. It was premature. Apparently there were still some edits, and I got the revision from Luis this morning and sent out the revised version. So please make note of the revised version very carefully. The changes are actually most predominant in the section called People. But what I love about this is we now have, first of all, we have a new statement about who we are. And by the way, can you guys all hear me? Because you're all silent. I can't tell if anybody's, I see your faces, but you can't, okay, right, okay, you're there. Vision 2025, I'm glad we're thinking at least 5 years out. And I'm glad we call this is about not becoming what it was, the largest global wellness community. Largest is still an egotistical statement. It's still, oh, I'm the biggest, I'm the best, I'm the this, I'm the, and people right now are just completely shut down when you use that type of hyperbole, that you're the best, you're the greatest, you're the this, you're the that. That's just like the antithesis of what anybody wants to hear. But when you say you want to be the most influential, that means you want to make a contribution. Influence is about contribution. You want to make an impact. Most influential global wellness community in the world. That means you're measuring your quality. The standard is based on a quality, not a quantity. It's a qualitative statement. What a difference. This has a huge impact on our vibrational frequency as a company. And you know me, when I talk about frequency, I'm talking about law of attraction. And what makes us much more potent right now as an attractive offering, as an attractive conversation to have, is when you speak of being influential and influencing the global wellness situation and building this community far and wide. That is, those buzzwords are going to hit home. I mean, I'm talking about it's going to hit people on a very, very deep and emotional, it's going to hit their limbic system. It's going to make them feel something. And so I think these words are so important. I'm very, very impressed with the fact that these words are even on this page, and that's what we're identifying ourselves as. Then of course, the three areas where we feel our mission, which is our ability to affect global wellness and community, is in the society's well-being through obviously our connectivity and our products, our economic viability, meaning making it possible for more and more people to have an alternative solution for economic strategy, and to be in harmony with nature, which is clearly what needs to happen if there's going to be sustainability for our world. We need to imbue and host that consciousness within us that we do things in harmony with nature. And that way we raise children and grandchildren and families who feel that connection with nature, that nature is a very important part of who we are, what we're about. It's like the natives who talk about being able to pass something on for 7 generations. They imagine a future 7 generations down. So the choices they make in the now, they make with the understanding of the impact that'll have through 7 generations. That is how you create sustainability. That's how you create a real long-term viable plan. Of course, we have our 5 pillars of wellness, no longer referred to as the 5 pillars of health. So we're going to have to revise some of our slides and some of our promotional materials, I'm sure, to reflect 5 pillars of wellness. And then, of course, the 3 key axes that this hinges on: people, market rules, communication. This is more what Nikken has identified as the fulcrum points. There's another word for it. It's the points that you have where you can make the greatest amount of impact with the least amount of effort. These points in a system where if you push on that point, it requires very little effort, but it has a monumental impact on the overall system. So in the area of people, notice the new word is train. I've noticed that Luis Kasuga doesn't want us using the word help. Help is not empowering. Train is empowering. When we train people, that means that we're giving them the ability to do something on their own, on how to improve their financial well-being. For instance, the curriculum that was delivered for the first time, if I recall, ever on a Nikken stage, hosted by Nikken, a person who came in to give us some financial advice. Wow, imagine that. A company that wants to help us improve our finances, and they brought us somebody who teaches how to do that in some very practical ways, not just about generating income, but what you do with it. So how important is that in terms of knowing how to improve your financial pillar? I think that's, you know, if someone was going to come and check in and say, do these guys really mean what they say when they talk about the 5 pillars of wellness? And they start to look at this curriculum, they're going to say, wow, I guess they really do mean that. They're teaching their people not only how to make money, but how to really compound that money and make it work for them long into the future to secure their financial future, even into retirement. Wow, that's a real business and a real business plan. And I think that's what's coming across here. So read these points. I think there's some really important points and changes. The market rules, of course, we have to be aware of what's changing in the marketplace and adapt to those changes, but not just adapt to them, really become not only proficient, but even on a leading edge where that's concerned. And I think the development in the IT that's coming, that we've seen, that we saw in the presentation, tells us that our customer-centric product design and design in general. I have a heads up for you guys. You didn't hear it here, but we have a sleep system that I think is going to absolutely kick ass coming. And when I mean that, I mean that. I mean everything. I mean, not only is it going to be economical, not only going to be something everybody's going to want, it's going to be something everyone can afford, and it's going to be efficacious. It's going to work like, you remember those testimonies you used to get? You get somebody lying down on the pad and all of a sudden they're like, what the heck is going on? I can feel blah, 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 blah. That's what's going to happen here. So that's going to create a buzz, and that's going to really help re-secure our position as a forerunner in the energy field. I think that's going to be a really big breakthrough for us, and it's coming.
You have some kind of timeline on that, Mike?
End of the year, I'm told.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're all pretty excited. So I think When you have a company that is, whose mind, the mind of the company is so steeped in a spiritual, holistic, and I think really connected, like very spiritually connected place where they're not shooting from the hip. They're not trying to sound marketing gizmo and, you know, the latest, greatest, and whatever, you know, all that stuff that hype is built on, and that, you know, these fake identities out there. This is a company that has really evolved from a very grassroots and organic level. And if you look at the history of the president himself, for instance, his 25-year tenure with Nikan and how he grew into the role that he's grown into, it's been very organic. And all of his influences, we're starting to see that show up on these pages. So I honestly believe we've entered a new era. I don't think we're entering into a new era. I think it's happened. And I believe that it's going to become more and more apparent, because I do know some things that I'm not privy to tell you, but I do know that the sales and marketing strategy is going to be much more robust and consistent with what you're seeing on these pages. You're going to see an education process take place in the field. There's going to be a leadership opportunity coming up before the end of the year to help us as leaders align our thinking, get our thinking. So I don't know if you heard this, but he said that he, and I know many of the corporate leaders in Latin America, virtually all of his staff in Latin America, were requested to read a book called Exponential Growth. So mandatory reading, all reading from the same book, but what's the book about? It's the influences of the Pascal Finet and others of this particular futuristic point of view to get the company's minds all at work at solving a problem from their own perspective, but the problem and the solution going in the same direction. So you don't have all these different shooting from the hip experiences. You have the collective approach of each individual in a very creative sense, moving in one direction. So this is what's in store for us, and you'll see the beginnings of that has already started. In fact, Jeff Isom is laying a foundation too through the new curriculum that he's laying in for Humans Being More, but you'll see this more clearly with the leadership event coming toward the end of the year and some of the incentives and things that are going to be lining up going into 2021, which, by the way, I'm assured is the year of growth. 2021, the year of growth. Next steps, connect the regions. Obviously, there's another reason for connecting the regions. Right now, the regions represent 19 countries. What if I told you that we're going into 100 countries? That you will have the mechanism in place to be able to reach into countries where Nikan doesn't even have a post office box. So all of this is actually being put together right now. So it's already in motion, the infrastructure for that to happen. The fact that we measured our success as a function of the increase in number of wellness homes, something that we've all bought into and believed for a very, very long time, is now back front and center. It was put in the back burner a couple of years, and it's now right back out front. It's a representation of the impact that we are making in a practical way, in a tangible way, by measuring the number of wellness homes. And wellness homes starts, for that matter. 10 million people across the globe practicing active wellness. 10 million people who've begun the journey with us of building their own wellness home. These are numbers, folks. You know, businesses usually are measured by numbers. You know, how do you know the largest corporation is the number of whatevers, right? It's always based on numbers. So the fact that we are now measuring our success, not based on the number of people who sell the product, but the number of people who use the product, is a customer-centric approach. It's an outside-in approach. It's really a demonstration of our impact in the world. And encouraging continuous practice of collaborative economy, meaning creating opportunities like ladies leading ladies, opportunities for people to collaborate and improve our business, our business model, the economy of our business through this collaborative environment. This is what we're about. And to have this all on one page is brilliant. So share this, because that's going to be something that really helps you, in few words, express the value and the virtue of the Nikken business opportunity and the business in the community of Nikken. So one last point I'm going to leave you with before we open the floor. Vision 2025, as you can see, is very broad. It's a very broad vision. It doesn't actually say how many sales Nikken's going to do in terms of volume. It doesn't say how many new Royal Diamonds there's going to be. It doesn't, it doesn't boast about those things. It's big. It's a huge umbrella. But within the context of this umbrella, we need to identify our role in that. Christian and I were just on a phone call together, him and I. And I reminded him of who he represents in my eyes to the vision of Nikken and the future of Nikken. How many of you believe, just by show of hands, there's not that many of you who've got it on camera, but those of you on camera, how many of you can see Christian as one of our lead Royal Diamonds leading the charge for a whole new generation? Yeah, I think so. I believe so. And so sometimes we need each other to remind each other that we have a role to play here. It's not just about having fun for ourselves. It's not just about making a few sales. It's not just about, qualifying for, Team Kaizen or something. All of those are beautiful things. What really drives us, what really Vision 2025 is about, what Nikken is about, what's being called of us, is to revisit, what is my role in this vision? What is my role in navigating and moving Nikken forward in the next 5 years, over the next 5 years? Now, I said to Christian, I hope you don't mind, Christian, because these were thoughts that were quite organic and very, very obvious. He has a few things working for him that all of us, boy, if we had, one of the things I know is very obvious to all, he's got youth. So imagine you were in your early 20s and you knew about Nikken. Knowing what you know now, right? Everything you've been through, the experience, the heart, you get it. You know what this is about. You know the stakes are high for everybody. And you got this youth. And now you got this future to examine, knowing that virtually nobody out there knows we exist. Certainly not in his demographic. I can almost say nobody with the exception of him. So it's like, and I said, Christian, not only that, but people know you and you know them. I mean, you can actually pick up the phone and call the president of this company. Where else would you have this kind of alignment? Where else could you go? And the other thing I said was, Christian, if you were down in the dumps, and we all get there, could you ask for help? He said, yeah. Would you get it? He said, yeah. I said, okay, so you got help, you got access to the best of the people there are, including the president of this company, you got youth, so you got energy, stamina, potential to work 8 till faint, all the things that we wish we had. You have the benefit of knowing everything there is to know about Nikken from a heart perspective. Your heart is full with Nikken. And you have a vision for the future. Where are you going to find this kind of alignment anywhere? That's extraordinary alignment. He's got so many things going for him, pointing in a direction of success. Now, I'm going to ask you guys to answer a question for him. So if you have an answer, just unmute and chime in. So my question, first of all, to you, and you don't have to answer, but I want you to really think about, is what is your vision of your role for Nikken, for Luis Kasuga, for the future of Nikken for 2025? What do you identify your role as in making this future vision a reality? Take time, and if you took the entire week just to contemplate that question, it could be the most important thing you do for your business. You need to identify.
Mike, I can answer that.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Anya from South Florida. I loved what I heard. I hadn't heard some of the things I heard this weekend in a really, really long time. And I've been around Nikon for a long time, off and on, building a business. And through this whole COVID thing, we've been doing a lot of contemplating, a lot of the inner work. And what came out of that for me was who I am as a human being more in the world. And what came out of that for me was I inspire evolutionary family leadership in the world. And so everything that I'm doing in this new life that I'm creating has to fit under that umbrella. So when I was hearing what I was hearing from Nikon about the 5 pillars of wellness, the more aligned focus. My husband was in a seminar away on Saturday, and when I shared with him, I'm like, you won't believe what has created was Nikon while we were doing the last couple of weeks, this very, very intense inner work on ourselves. And I believe is what we do here is, you know, I create my perfect universe. And I was sharing with him, he goes, are you influencing the world? And I do believe we do influence the world. So for me personally is I am a human being more, and it's not about Nikon. It is of the stand that I take in the world, and Nikon happens to fit in what I want to create, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's a little bit of a duality. I like what Nikon has to offer, but my life is, like so many of you, is so much more than just Nikon.
It's humans being more.
Yes, we
powered
are
by
humans
Nikon.
being more. Exactly. And that's exactly what I heard, where before it was always, oh, I have to do Nikon. And now I'm really hearing something that got me very inspired and really re-looking at Nikon. And when I'm looking at all the pictures, Christian, I think it's you and me, the young people on the team here. So kudos to you. I think you're up in Canada. And I think we're entering a generation when I see other peers that are of my age or younger that maybe stay-at-home moms, and they're going to all the conventions and it's all the hype, and I'm like, I don't want to do the hype anymore. You know, it's like, give me the real and the raw and the let's roll up the sleeves and get it done. That's what I want. You know, the fluff, it fades away. It fades away very quickly, and Nikon in 45 years has never faded away. And the more I kick the tires on Nikon, the stronger it gets. And I love that. I love that about Nikon. It always gets better. It really does. And I recognize some of the other faces here, like Barbara, that I've known for a really, really long time. And, you know, where can you go today and turn around and start a new company or start a new business on just one product that Nikon has to offer? And we have 5 different areas where we can help people. Yeah, very, very inspired.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, that was a really important point, by the way, the idea that this is your life and Nikon is here as a support mechanism, and we're building a community to support one another in reinforcing that. And the first place where you start is your home, your family, your community. That's where you're going to start, and your influence is going to be radiating out from there. You know, the way I've always drawn the rhythm of the business is when you first enroll in Nikon, it's a personal journey. Your personal journey begins with you taking a personal interest in your well-being. And so the influence that you're having is over your personal well-being. You go to humans being more, you plug into the products, and you're now having a personal experience. Now you can take that to the next level, influence your family, your friends. You're creating a bit of a local impact. That local impact often results in somebody becoming a silver. So a silver is somebody who's had an impact on a local level. As you go from there, you might want to reach out and touch a few more families, a few more lives. And now your influence is being measured through the influence of others as well on your team, radiating out to maybe a small city, a town, a few towns. So your impact is municipal, like a gold. And from there, it can radiate further out. You might start sponsoring people in other towns and so forth. And now you're radiating into maybe a province or a region. And that's a platinum. And then from there, it keeps going. You might sponsor people in other states, maybe in another country even, or 2 or 3. And now you're starting to actually have an influence that's spanning a country. You have an influence on a country level, national level. That's a diamond. When we look at a royal diamond business, what we see is they have diamonds on other leaders in multiple countries. They are making an influence on an international level. And then finally, there's that royal ambassador, where they simply have an influence everywhere there is Nikken. So it's a global influence. So our ranks are really a representation of the degree to which you've made an impact or an influence in the world. And that's how we should look at it, so that there is a connection to our mission where the rank is concerned. So the rank is not an empty rank, it's a representation. And I don't know if you noticed, but they actually showed all of the diamonds, all of the royal diamonds that they've had, whether they're still active in the business or not, because all those people were like a pebble in a pond that had an effect, that radiated out and had that footprint of a diamond, or that footprint of a royal diamond. I think that's really important to note. So my question then, where Christian's concerned, your advice to Christian.
Mike, I want to chime in.
Yes.
Please. Okay. So this really was so amazing. It's printed, it's in a little laminated sheet. That's why I wrote privately, do I have the right one? Because I'm you know, I'm not that techie to figure out what the difference is. But anyway, I do want to make sure I have the correct one that I'm hovering in on. But it brings me back to when you stood there and were making a declaration from going diamond to royal diamond on the skinny little branches. And you were sharing your commitment to be there and to do it. But you also had a commitment about education and I believe reading. For some reason, I have that. So maybe I just kind of chimed on the back of yours, or I added mine to yours. I'm not quite sure. But making a difference in the world of children beyond Nikken, that you had a vision for everyone and every child on the planet to have the opportunity of education. And like you had this whole, I mean, and maybe I like I said, I have destroyed whatever that, but it was a while ago, but it was bigger than who you were. It was bigger than Nikken. It was and it was also in the realm and time of the Polar Bear Club.
That's right.
And people were doing things just in their communities to make a difference and photographing it and sending it in before social media, guys. We would send it in and we would try to get accepted into the polar bear. I cleaned miles of our beach. We cleaned the back bayous. We did stuff. And I may not have gotten a polar bear pin, but I earned one because we created things in our community together that had us in an outreach way. But now I love the word influencer, you know, that we are impacting. And I love the whole, you know, children mending hearts with empathy. I mean, like the compassion and empathy, so that they know it's not just creating love and that, but no, it's actually putting yourself in other people's shoes. And if we do that across the country, across the globe, we will see and feel what other families are feeling and take back the reins of our family units that have been so dispersed. And now I think this pandemic that I call hibernation has allowed us to actually regroup, redeclare, and redefine who we are. In the midst of all that's going on, there's a pause. There's a pause, even though it's like I can say, okay, I can create a balanced life now for Barbara. I can create a balanced life now for my family. I can create these moments of opportunity, whether it's Zoom or this, but I can have it all, but still have a life. And I think that's what Anya, you were saying, because I just love it. I just love the opportunity of this, and to have people grow into it and really own it at a whole different level. And Mike, I think your rhythm of the business, I wrote it down while you were sharing it. The place to start is home. Yes, home. But you know what? That pebble goes out further than it splashes now. It does a little ploop, and mine goes to New Orleans and goes to New York and goes to Chicago and now Columbia. But it didn't do that before. We had to stay within a 90-mile radius. Now we don't. And that's what I think you're telling us with the addition of the 100 other countries coming on board, that there are no walls, there are no boundaries. And now that splash, and then the next splash. So it's more of a pebble bloop, that's actually, going to Canada and touching base and connecting that way. And I just see it being the next evolution of who we are, exponentially growing. And I love, and I don't even know, I call it, I make up words. So I'm grapulating with all that economist was sharing, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I get it and I get it, I get it and I get it. And I love it. It has us all thinking in a whole different way. And I was just talking about, I met the man from the Elks Club, and he's got a property in North Florida that sleeps 803 people. He just put in a conference center with 43 suites with a conference room. And I'm going, oh, that's awesome. We could fill it. Do I want to fill it? I don't know if I want to fill it, but we could fill it. But his main thing is to do kids. They bring kids there, and they do ropes courses, and they learn to team build. And I'm like, okay, I can back that. I can back that in a heartbeat, and how great just sponsoring 2 or 3 children. If we look at that, and I just get, obviously I'm excited.
I think thanks, Barbara. I think the more you connect your reason for Nikan as a vehicle to things beyond yourself, ways you can make an influence, but it's consistent. It's still consistent with the overall theme. The more you create an identity for yourself, if we understand the law of attraction, we have created a reality that fits our identity. And what we want to do to go into a new reality is to modify our identity. So what Vision 2025 and this conversation does is allow us to open the doors again, sit down with a blank sheet of paper and say, okay, we've done what we've done the past. We've done it. I am who I identify myself as right here, right now. Done it, because I'm it. So I've already done that. The question is, what's next? Because what's next is going to give me a reason to get up in the morning. What's next is going to give me a reason to get up in the morning with energy, with anticipation, with vitality, with life force. Why people die is because they lose their reason to live. And we need a reason to live. And Nikan gives us such the page is so big and blank, but has such possibilities. It gives us an opportunity to rewrite our future. So I want to challenge you to do that.
There's no way that we can achieve the goals and dreams of these without other people. Do you
Of
know what I mean?
course.
It's that big. And the thing that I love is that you need other people to get on the skirt tails until they learn how to be a you, right? Or a me or whatever. But we are also on their skirt tails on how to do some of this, you're right? And to collaborate.
You know, you remind me of a story.
Okay.
I remember when I don't remember how old I was really young. And in Toronto, they have hockey rinks outside, and it was cold. It was winter, and we were downtown, and I wanted to go skating. I wanted to learn how to skate, and I remember being in this outdoor hockey rink, and they had just flooded it, so it's soaking wet, and I kept falling, and I was soaking wet and freezing, but I wanted to learn how to skate, so I kept trying, and finally, one of my family or relatives, acquaintances, whatever, a taller, bigger guy, came in behind me, picked me up, and then held me from under my arms and started skating with me between his legs so I could get a feel for what it felt like to actually move on the ice and start shifting my weight. And we went around and around until I was finally comfortable to start doing it on my own. This is it. You know, we're about to do something you haven't done before because we're no longer living in the world you were living in. There is no going back. That world doesn't exist. So the question is, what is the world we want to live in? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And what is our role? What is our identity in this world? So I want to project forward the years 2025. We're getting on a Zoom call at the end of a convention that we were at all together, maybe in some remote part of the world. And now we're all back home in our homes, and we get on our Zoom call, and we're reflecting on the last 5 years since that monumental convention that took place, that first COVID convention online. And we're thinking about what's happened in the last 5 years. How much has happened? How much has happened in our life, in our collective lives, in the world, in how we can look at the impact that we've made and how we feel about ourselves because of our contribution to that. This is what I'm talking about. You know, a few months ago, we talked about living for the future. You know, if you're not living for the future, then you're just doomed to repeat the past. You have to create a new identity. That identity starts with how you see yourself. So what Nikan has dropped on us with this convention is it's like looking at Nikan through a different lens. It's like, wow, I really like this Nikan. I really like the words they use. I really like the people they ask to speak because it's representing who they are and where they're at and how they see themselves. So we're being asked to do this ourselves, to revisit, who are you now? Who are you now being the year 2025? Who are you now, the year 2025? Because that's the version of yourself that you want to experience and grow into over the next 5 years. So who are you now, the year 2025? Not who are you now, the year 2020. That's been done. The person you are right now is a reflection of who you've been identifying yourself with for the years leading up to now. So you're now done. That's done. The cake is baked. Now, what's next? Who are you now, the year 2025? What is your contribution looking back on these last 5 years? What have you done? Who have you become? What do you represent? That's the challenge. Now, as I said to Christian, if you're ever down in the dumps, can you get help? Will you get help? So the year's 2025. You've been down in the dumps over the last 5 years. You've had help because you've asked for it. You humbled yourself enough, your ego enough to say, I know what I want, but I need some help to get there. I need that person to come behind me and pick me up and teach me how to stand on my own weight on this ice because it's slippery out there and I'm not quite sure how to do it. This is what's necessary right now for us if we're going to create a future that doesn't look like the past. And if you're going to be a part of that future. So again, my advice, I'm speaking in terms of, I'm talking to Christian. In my mind right now, I'm talking to myself, but Christian is the person I'm speaking to as a third person representing me. So the advice I would give to Christian is, what is it, guys?
Not help, training.
Well, project a future that you want first, and do it every day with the activities that you engage in, and just keep track of those activities, but never let go of whatever that future is for each person.
All out massive action, learning by doing.
Ah, that's good. That's another great, learning by doing. In other words, if you're of the opinion that you need to know before you can do,
Yeah.
that isn't going to work. And that's not how it works, ever. So we have to do in order to learn how to do better. So
But learn to share our goals and dreams so big that other people can walk along with you until they figure out their own goals and dreams, and kind of ride along with you on your skirt tails of the impact and the amazing difference that we can make. Just, I mean, with the kids, the reuse, recycle, the 3 R's, and all the different things that the young ones would just jump on that and take it up and go. They're teaching it and having it. Just the children, working with the children, healthy home, having elders that have all their vitality, their energy, their stamina, because they now know the gut-brain connection. They know that if I feed my body, if I sleep and I take care of my vessel, I'm going to be the optimum person that I can be. So let's get this out there. Let's educate everybody. Let's share this. And my goal, and I'm still figuring it out, Mike, but is so grandiose that, what aspect do you want to take on? How can we help? And how can I help serve you in the midst of that?
let me talk about that for a second here. Let me pick up on that.
Okay.
Vision, purpose, it's the top of the pyramid is purpose. So it's why we do what we do. Vision is what it looks like when we're doing what we love to do. That's what you can see it. Vision is something that you can put in pictures. That's why we do a vision board, or what we call a life cycle plan. Then comes our results. Results is another word for milestones. What are the milestones that would indicate that we are moving toward or living in alignment with our vision, which is in alignment with our purpose? Milestones is another word for goals. So break down those 5-year goals into annual, break it down into what does it look like in 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, so that you actually have activities and projections that are in alignment with your vision. I think this is the thing that people fail to do in life in general, almost universally. And what we've learned from the past is that those who have set goals and defined their milestones are the ones that are most likely, 97% most likely, to actually achieve them. Actually, the number is less than that. Where the number rises, and this was a study that was done at big university, where the number goes up into the 90 percentile is when the people who set the objective allow themselves to be held accountable by a mentor or a coach. So this is getting back to the point that I was trying to make where Christian was concerned. If you know you have a community that can support you, that will assist you, that will be there to encourage you, train you where training is needed, then the only reason you would ever not achieve what you were setting out to achieve is because you weren't committed to it. you have access to the pieces. I'm trying to make that case. And so what are we inviting people to when we're inviting them to be part of this community? We're inviting them to the whole potential of this experience where they can start setting some objectives for themselves, have a vision for their future, know that they're in alignment with their highest purpose. Then we can help them set some objectives, milestones, to know that we're moving in the right direction. And then make certain that the activities that we're putting out on the table, those daily, weekly, monthly activities, are in alignment with those objectives. So that nothing is work. Nothing feels like work, because it's all in alignment with what it is that we want. And when we're doing what we want, it's never work. That's why it's important to figure it out. What do you want? What is it's the year 2025. Who are you? What has your contribution been looking back over the last 5 years to Vision 2025 for NICAN? This idea that NICAN's put on the table.
I think mastermind teams, Mike, just like this is, I view this kind of as a mastermind team, and the ladies leading some big diversity in the group and age and where people live and so forth. It's been profound to have that option and to form small ones. A lot of the people on here I've been in mastermind teams with over the years, and that's where those relationships, and then you know who to call, and I think that's another option.
You know, all of this is organic, all of this is fantastic, but I have to be honest, I have not looked at this idea for what I look like in the year 2025 myself. Like, this is my exercise out loud to actually think about it, because the creative process, the law of creation, the law of attraction, the law of creation, same thing, they're interchangeable words, is to have an identity that I'm manifesting. And if I don't know what it looks like, then I'm just manifesting the past. That's the natural process, is I repeat the past, because that's the vision that's latent in my mind, in my mind's eye. So if I don't recreate a version of myself, then I'm not working toward that. I'm not allowing in the information, even though it's out there, even the world around is changing, I'm not allowing the change to come in to affect me so that I can manifest that new version of myself. So identification, who are you in those 5 areas? Isolate, who am I? It's the year 2025. What does it look like? Vision, what does it look like where my health, where my body is concerned? Mind, what books have I read? Family, what vacations have I taken? Well, how much time do I invest in my family? Society, I look at society primarily as the NICAN business is primarily society, the impact that I'm making through NICAN. So now I can look at that and say, how many wellness homes does that represent? Of those 10 million active wellness people, how many of them are because I am in this world? And then financially, of course, we can put a number to that. What's the number? What is the number that you know you're making progress towards? These are things that should never, ever be taxing to us. It should never be arduous or difficult. It should be encouraging and inspiring. And if it's not, if you're afraid to put a number on the scoreboard, what is that saying about who you're being? Who you're being if you're not able to even project into the future a future version of yourself that's better than the one you've got right now? Who are you being? Surrounded by all this possibility, by all this support, by all this opportunity, and you're saying, oh, no, I'm just going to be here. I'll just sit on the sidelines. I'll sit on like a fly on the wall, and I'll watch everybody else's life go by. That makes no sense at all. Get in the game.
I got a brand new life cycle plan out, Mike. I happen to have extra ones, and I was getting ready to cut out everything, and I have this NICAN world. But I mean, you know, all the things that we've done, all the visions that we've had, you know, I even have that I always own it, that I'm a royal ambassador. And I said it before we even had the rank as an ambassador. The buck stopped here. If there was an issue, I handled it. And then I ate the product, and then I would send it back and do whatever I needed to do, because I was the store. I was the face, the front of Nikken. And I think if we all hold that we represent Nikken, then we become, where is that? The highest potential. Experience your highest potential. You know, who am I? Who is that person? Who is that represents something that is the heart of the children, that is the thing, the sustainability of the earth, that collaborates with families, that supports people to the next level, to have the freedom, you know, like, yay. I mean, and your daughter, I mean, God, she's a great example of it all too. I mean, all of them, that generation, bringing all of them, every piece of their pie together. There used to be a time where I would say, Mom, I'm calling, I got my Nikken hat on. I need to have that conversation, right? Yada, yada, yada. And because I you know, I needed to do that. I have so many hats, I needed to have that. And now I realize there is no hats. It's all me. It's all who I stand for. It's all, you know, I am integrity. I speak my word. I am who I say I am. And all because that's all we have in the world, is to create now, the future now, you know, and what is that? So, you know, this has just been an awesome thing. And I invite everybody, I also have this on there, say yes to life. And for 1 week, I said yes to everything. Oh my gosh, your whole life will shift. If you just take on, you pause for a moment and you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made this promise. And I'll go, yeah, sure. I'll be there. I'll speak. I'll do what. And it's amazing what you get yourself into. I even joined the choir once because they asked me, and I'm like, okay, I'm choral. Don't put me out in front, but I'll sing. You know. So anyway, I just, you know, look to see also on the scale of 1 to 10, where you rate yourself, where you can play on those little branches, putting yourself out there to even be more of you, to bring back more of you. And thank you, Mike, for this. This has just been great.
What I'm excited about is that it's 5 years, so I don't have to change any of the life cycle plans. I could just put the new date on it, and I could get there before I'm 100 years old. If I would have kept going at the old rate, I wouldn't have lived long enough. So it's kind of exciting at this age to be able to just get it done.
I want to say something to those of you out there or watching in the playback that might think of yourself as somehow less than, you know, maybe unworthy in some way. Consider this. If you are part of Nikken, then you're part of everybody that's on this call here. That means you're part of this family. So you don't walk into a situation on your own, ever. You represent and are represented by all of us. So everybody you admire, that you've heard and you've listened to, who's out there making representations for everything we're talking about, you're part of that family. They're your kin. They're your tribe. So you're never alone, ever. And if you respect those people and admire those people, know that whenever you step out and start talking to somebody about this, you're representing us. You're out there representing the best of us. So you're never alone. And that should help you maybe get out of the way a little bit, not be so insecure about yourself, and realize that you're the leading edge of the wedge, that you're just the leading edge of the wedge. They may get to see or hear about Nikken for the first time through you, but you're not Niken, you're the leading edge of the wedge of people that are behind you and around you that are representing what this is all about. If you're inviting them into the community, it's our community, it's us. So you're the leading edge of that wedge. So don't ever go out there thinking somehow you're less than or anything like that. You're just the leading edge of the wedge. Let them see the rest of the wedge and they'll be pretty impressed. I'm pretty sure you feel that way.
Michael, the one thing I wanted to ask is up in the upper left corner of that green page is a brand new icon for us. Instead of the two static people holding their hands up, we have a dynamic human next to a leaf. And so if you consider that what we're looking at is a whole new way of looking at the future. It's not static. We're not just stiff little icons. We are dynamic humans in the world behind us. The world is there. And if you notice, one of those hands is even outside of the world and growing on. So I think that's what helped me really get a good grip on what was the whole picture of what they were saying, all in one very elegant little diagram.
When you consider, that's beautiful. When you consider who created that graphic, and they must have a pretty connected, they must be pretty connected to the thread of who we are and what we are intending to be to come up with that graphic. Like it's
Speaking of that, I noticed that with Pasquale in the interview part, how often he talked about like and that we've been involved and what we have and this global community and how I mean, he just seemed to be very much a part of that. And I was thinking back to this past year. Barb mentioned it earlier on the Barb Satterwhite on the Alliance to Royal, the MTP. How many times has Luis mentioned that all year long? And how many times have we heard, for those of us that have been at all of these meetings, the Diamond Training and so forth, and his listening to his Niken Now message every month. And so those seeds have really been planted. And having been in the first Chaos to Order, what Jeff did was the first one that he did virtually. I was on that one. I was on a couple of them. And the exercises that we had to do with that, to go clean closets. I've gotten so much done. That's where I came up with that. I've just been pulling things out and finding some things that are so applicable that have been reminders of this journey of the being and becoming the best version of ourselves. And that is just, it's just in the timing. And I do believe, as Barbara has mentioned, that COVID has given this opportunity for all of us to pull in, to reflect. Yes, Anya did as well. And to be with our families again, and to not be with our families again, what that means to not be with them for the ones that haven't been able to. So perfect. And Mary Bowser has really blossomed with this Ladies Leading Ladies. She's so talented. She has so much talented. And Ben said that on the happy hour thing, that just like Ron Barnes and Pam is here tonight, we have so much talent. And that's the community, the diversity, pulling all that diversity together. It is that variety.
Hey, you know, there's a bunch of people on this call. Thanks, Madeline. There's a bunch of people on this call that defer commenting. You know, you create the space for us, but there's a few of us on this call love to talk, if you noticed. So we did, no, all of us. I mean, those of us that have been talking, we love to talk. But we want you guys to talk too. So interrupt, like just jump in. If you have something to say, that's fine. We'll make the space. Like, we don't want dead space. So if you got something you want to say, jump in, holler out.
So Mike, this is
Yes.
Barb. The MTP, which is Massive Transformative Purpose, is what Luis has been talking about all year. And I see all of this that came together with this, the vision and everything. I mean, this is happening, but it gives you that almost chills to realize they've got a big grasp on this. And you're pointing out that we need to put our grasp on it, meaning And I like that to be, for us to be thinking of what we want in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, there are a lot of older people on this call. I'm 68, and I think that your call to think about what are the next 5 years going to be like, 68, 73, 78, 83, what does it look like? And whether somebody's 20 or 25 or 30, it's always a good question to have people ask themselves, what are the next 5 years going to look like in your life? And as you get older, at least for me, it's harder to imagine because I'm going against the trend of people. Now you hear people dying in the mid 70s, and so if we're not doing that and we're going and keeping going and active and building, that's not necessarily what society expects us to do. And so it's a great way when we begin speaking with people to ask them to consider these kinds of questions too. And they're not easy questions, but obviously from the vibrancy of the people on this call, Nikan has answers that sound very good and look very good.
Can I say something that follow up on what Paul says? I came from that convention. I was absolutely ecstatic, and I just, the vision and the whole concept was just so exciting to me. And in 5 years, I'll be 87, and I'm on a roll. And Christian, you can appreciate older people doing what you can do. And I mean, and I'm starting to, really listen to more what people are at. And it's sad how people are just at where they're at and they're not opening the doors to accept anything else. But yeah, age doesn't matter. I'm excited about the future of what we saw. And I'm learning technology like you wouldn't believe. And we found Pascal's thing was so interesting. I'm anxious to revisit all the presentations that were done on the conference just to refresh my memory. But I woke up this morning just ecstatic about this whole thing. So you're never too old.
Mike,
Wow.
something I appreciated about the conference was, Pascal did his presentation and it was phenomenal. And, but I didn't realize until he was doing the Q&A with Luis and Kurt, how much insight he actually had into the Nikan family and what they stood for. And I mean, he had a lot more knowledge about Nikan than I ever thought he would have. You invite a guest speaker and you expect them to cover their topic. You don't expect them to have the insight into the company that he's speaking with like he did. And Luis mentioned that he'd been in touch with Pascal and others over the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurt finally did smile. So yeah.
Christian, what
One
about
thing,
you? Oh, sorry, Carol.
no, well, one thing I just, I want to say that I feel, Mike, that you have demonstrated the leadership of acceptance of everybody with such graciousness, and that you have been incorporating in your presentations here and on the Saturdays that you lead, bringing more and more people that we don't normally hear about, but you've been bringing people forward and giving them a voice, which
is really powerful. And I sit here and what I have massive ideas and interests, and I need someone who will help me structure my life to think through the goals and to do that, because I'm all over the map. But every time I come here, I get something for that, but I need a person who will help me identify the goals that I really want. And one of the things, the whole thing with Ron Barnes, with the financial planning, that is something that I've gotten into, and it's an area that I am developing. But anyway, I need someone that'll rein me in and that I will be able to be accountable to and have goals that I
Can I throw something at you? Just as a starting point, this is by no means the ending point, but I would say if you could go through every one of the 5 pillars of health and translate an objective into a number.
Okay.
So for instance, oh, I want to spend more time with my family. What does that mean in terms of a number? If you can translate the idea into a number, it's measurable. And that begins the process of setting a plan in motion where you can work up to that number. So that's just food for thought.
Thank you.
Hey, Christian, we haven't heard from you since you've been the feature for me all night. What are your thoughts?
I took notes. I'm thrilled. I'm charged up. It's really what I needed, and it feels great. I couldn't imagine that you could have such a good feeling while being on a screen with people all over the place and still feel this this personal touch. And I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great place to end our call, which is a little bit over time now. The idea that we can still create a personal touch using this technology in this time gives us another clue as to what we could do more of. So,
the energy is palpable, Mike. The energy is palpable, even if we're sitting alone in front of our screens. We can feel it. You can see it in everybody's demeanor.
Then let's invite some more people to these calls. But, you know, let's get our teams on these calls. Let's keep the invitations going because they don't know what they don't know, right? All right. Well, with that, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks everyone for participating. And those of you who were quiet tonight, maybe you can chime in next week. We'd love to hear from you. So have a great week, everybody. Let's work on our Vision 2025, shall we?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for your inspirational leadership, Michael.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.